Let's look at some of the tools you're going to need to make your encaustic art. I'm Kathleen Warren, photo encaustic artist, and these are some of the tools that I have in my PDF, Encaustic Art on a Budget. Since you work with encaustic wax hot, you're going to have a way to heat it. I like to use a griddle. I don't normally put the wax directly on the griddle. You can see some that has spilled. And I use a larger flat griddle in my main studio. The important thing is temperature adjustment. So this is the piece that plugs into the griddle, has a dial. I like to have numbers on the dial, and I will keep the heat under 200, probably closer to 195 degrees Fahrenheit. If you get a griddle that is adjustable but no numbers, and I have one like that a friend gave me as a backup, works great. I just had to experiment with the temperature, used an infrared thermometer, and checked the temperature of the wax, not the griddle, but the wax. And the wax should be between 180, 185 degrees Fahrenheit, which is virtually not going to produce many fumes. At first, I would check quite a bit to make sure everything was working right and not overheating. Now, maybe I check once a month on this griddle. I also, if I'm traveling or just want a small amount, I have this cup warmer, and it is a brand with adjustments that will go to 176 degrees Fahrenheit. So for small amounts of wax, you can melt it on this, although it is a little bit slow and maybe not for daily use, but I do use it sometimes. You're going to have containers for your wax. I like metal containers. These mini loaf pans have worked really well for me for my plain medium. I have regular size loaf pans for larger pieces. And for my pigmented wax, I use cat food cans. They're free. A friend gives them to me. And I can put the wax in whatever pigment, put it on the griddle. When I'm done, I take it off and let it cool. And I can store these. I have dozens of these stored in my main studio, so I always have the right color. Or I can make the right color and store that one also. You're going to need to have brushes to put the wax on with. I don't spend a lot of money on brushes for my encaustic art like I would for watercolor, acrylic, or oil painting. For putting on plain medium, I often use chip brushes. They're inexpensive. You can get them at hardware stores, big box stores, maybe even a dollar store, and they come in different widths. They hold up well to the heat, and I have not had a problem with these shedding bristles. Then I also have smaller brushes. Again, the bristles have to be resistant to heat, and once a wax brush, always a wax brush. Hockey brushes work really well for encaustic. That's where you would want to get a more expensive, higher quality, because cheap hockey brushes will shed bristles into your wax painting. So now you have the wax on, and you're ready to fuse. So by fusing, we mean that you melt or partially melt the top layer that you've just put on so that it partially goes into the layer below it or into the substrate so that your whole painting is going to have integrity and not flake off. I often use a heat gun. I like this particular brand. Temperature's adjustable. I will have it way hot, but I'm far enough away from the wax that I'm not overheating it. And this brand has some attachments so I can also control the flow of the hot air a little bit. I like to keep a small table beside my main working table to put the heat gun on because the tip will stay hot and I don't want to get burned. I also use this craft heat gun. It's great for small pieces or small areas. Doesn't get as hot, doesn't put out as much air. May be safer because the hot tip is encased in plastic. Yep. Many encaustic artists like to fuse with a butane torch. This is a butane kitchen torch. Fire's going to come out when you light it. And it works really well for fusing. You get a nice smooth surface, but you need to learn how to use it. I usually, when I use the torch, will use it on the porch right outside my studio, the covered porch, and nothing flammable around. Later, if you want to do techniques like shellac burn, you'll need a torch. You can also fuse with an iron. The important thing, no holes on the bottom, flat bottom. So this is a ski wax iron, flat bottom, no way for the wax to go up in. I like the rounded corners. It has some weight, so it just glides right over the surface to fuse it. So you have your layers down. Now you're ready to create texture, lines, things like that in your painting. And I like my encaustic stylus. Wood burning styluses are just too hot. You need one made for encaustic work, and there are some other brands besides this, but this one has interchangeable tips, so I can take off the flat oval, wire brush, pen tool. There are some other interesting ones like that. So multiple tools in one, and it's well worth the investment to get a good one. As for non-heated tools, when I first started encaustic, I was told I'd have to scrape back a lot on the wax. I was a little skeptical, and I found out that was true. Not necessarily for mistakes, but to create texture. This is a larger scraper, and actually I don't use it all that much because it is large and I feel like I have less control. So I like the smaller one. This one, of course, has a wood handle. You can see that. And I buy clay working tools, nice little scrapers, and I have lots of control with this to take off wax exactly where I want to take it off. You also probably, or I want, pointy tools. So a piece of dirt falls in your encaustic painting while the wax is hot. You just like dip this in, take it out. There you go. Nothing wasted. This one's also sharp. You can make lines in the cooled wax that you can fill in, and other uses for something like this. Little tongs. I got these at a thrift store, 3 pairs for a dime. Spoon, scissors. So you can bring a lot of things out of your kitchen, pick them up at a thrift store. If it's heat resistant, give it a try with your encaustic wax. So learn to use your tools, make your own encaustic art.